That good? I think that might be good. Peace. Welcome back. You guys see it's just me today. What's up? Robinson Mega. I just wanted to hop in and give you guys a little information about this Mega Late Show episode before we get started. So a couple things. First, I'd like to shout out all the people that joined the Secret House Against the World channel after the Noname review, and also some of the comments on there. Some of them very thoughtful, some of them very concerned, and yeah. Just either way, thank you guys for clocking in. Also, shout out to our newest patron, Cake. Shout out. That's the homie for here from Tokyo. Appreciate you putting it down for us and giving us a couple of your dollars to keep this ship sailing. Yeah. So and also shout out to Noname for her support. It was a pleasure and an honor for us to be amongst the first to review her album and to review it seriously. I recently watched a couple other people's reviews, and there seems to be a bit more dialogue about the projection into the content and the intent of her rather than the music itself, rather than get into picking apart woke neoliberal ideological underpinnings of a lot of those positions. I'm just going to keep it moving and yeah, people take what they want from it, but hopefully everybody that wants something good from this album can get something from it, and the people that don't, move on. Secondly, I want to let you guys know that we are going to be reviewing, Jed and I, because Elspeth just left again, Jed and I are going to be reviewing 3 albums this week. Noah 23's Tank Girl album, Wakai, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Some people scream, some people talk. I'm really enjoying that one. And Pioneer 11's collab with Reese Langston to operate the system. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name either. I'm real bad with that type of stuff. But yeah, so those will be coming. I think just going to come over tomorrow or perhaps the following day, depending on our schedule. And then those reviews will trickle out. I want to also give a shout out to Caltrops Press, my guy Joe over there at Caltrops Press. He surprised me with a nice little care package featuring the itinerary for non-places, which is his addendum, his book and his writing about the new Billy Woods and Kenny Siegel's Map album. And Lord, this is so dense and just amazing, the type of effort that he puts into kind of parse out some of these ideas. I haven't even finished reading it myself, but you flick to any page in this brochure manuscript, and like right here, you guys have heard me talk about Dopest and the Situationists and Society of the Spectacle. You turn right here, Dopest and his Situationists posse encourage citizens to embrace. Yeah, man, he gets off. This is actually tremendous and wonderful, and perhaps the most amazing writing I've ever seen associated with hip-hop music as art. And I suggest all of you go check out his work there. The link is in the bio. It's a pay what you can type of thing, but of course you want to toss him a couple dollars so he can keep that ship going and further incentivize him to make the time and I'm sure his busy life to put the care and effort into breaking down or at least critiquing or thinking about these tremendous pieces of artwork. Link in the bio. Also, speaking of reading, I'd like to remind you all to continue reading theory, but I also like to let you guys know about Noname Book Club. It is an incredible place to find like minds and read radical work. They also spend a fair amount of money and toss hundreds of books to incarcerated peoples and incarcerated comrades. They have They have a Patreon. The link is also in the bio. Abolish the prison industrial complex. The death penalty kills innocent people, and just read more often. Now, for this Mega Late Show episode, thank you for sticking around so long to hear it. It is a long one, and it features one of my old homies that I met when I first moved to Asia. I took a trip to Hong Kong maybe 12 years ago, and I met him on a junk boat ride. He is a B-boy, and for those of you that don't know, I am an old B-boy. I started breaking back in like 96, 95, and I'm long since retired, but my wife is still a B-girl, and my daughter breaks as well. So it was a pleasure to have him on. Mike Magic is one of the most popular, well-known, and dopest of the B-boy event MCs, meaning, the host. And he's also a party host and does a lot of things with a few labels. He's from Hong Kong and Australia, but he's currently in Shanghai and just doing the dopest shit out there. we get in this episode, we get into a lot of the kind of changes in b-boy culture, the thoughts on competition and judging, as well as b-boying being in the Olympics and how to judge what is essentially an art form under a criteria for sports. And so, yeah, it's a long, sprawling conversation. We bounce all over the place. I ask him a couple questions about living in Shanghai and his general thoughts on China, as well as some of the hip-hop culture out there, what he thinks about the way people dress and the way people kind of do hip-hop culture out there. So, yeah, it's a dope, fun conversation. I think if you're interested in those type of things, the Megalade Show has been going on for almost 7 years now, and while after coronavirus, the first year of coronavirus, I really took my foot off the gas to focus on Secret House Against the World. There is a tremendous back catalog of in-studio conversations with tremendously talented artists and people, and from all walks of life. We've had professional Japanese pro wrestlers on here. We've had the great hip-hop guys, great DJs, people doing all types of things, artists and all that. Anything that is creative culture was going on with that. So, yeah, if you're only here for reviews, keep waiting. There's more coming. Underground independent shit, weird art rap type of shit. And if you'd like to hear more about breaking, yeah, stick around for this one. Peace to Mike Magic. Peace to all the patrons. Peace to all of you who have subscribed. Peace to all of you and peace to all the b-boys. So yeah, farewell. Today I've got the homie Mike Magic,
what's up?
Who is one of the probably most well-known and renowned b-boy event MCs in all of Asia. Is that overstating it?
I'd say. Okay.
I'd say I'm right.
I'll take that. I'll take that. Like, I would say, yeah, Asia. Like,
yeah.
Because, like, okay, China most definitely. Because, like, that's my base there.
Right.
And then Japan, Korea, and, like, they know me because of RF Champ, like, the Singaporean event. But, yeah.
I mean, shoot, like, if you go by numbers, like, China for sure has got the most numbers, but that's besides the point. Really, what I was trying to do is give you your flowers, because I know you've been putting it down, hosting and rocking with b-boy culture for as long as I've known you. And
yeah,
so, yeah, shout out to you, man.
Thanks. I mean, in terms of, I think it's important right now, especially since the Olympics are coming up.
Right.
And also right now with mainstream hip-hop culture flourishing, I feel like the ones that, like, for us, like the DJs, the MCs, and when I say MCs, I mean the guys, of course, who could rap.
The masters of ceremony, though.
But also the ones that could hold down a party. Those guys. By MCs, I mean those guys. And then, the graph artists, the b-boys, the four main elements, I think, those people within the culture, like us, who represent the four elements,
right?
We have a responsibility to kind of keep the represent the culture as grounded as possible.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I get that we all need to make money one way or another, and yeah, that's what I do. I make a living off MCing, like hosting either parties at clubs or big ass events, big small dance events. That's where that's my breadwinner right there. Like that's where I make my money. Like,
well, I've known you for like over a decade now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've known you. Yeah, 11 years now, because I met you in 2012.
Damn.
Yeah, no shit, right? Yeah, I met you. I met Mike in Hong Kong on a junk boat.
On a boat, like for those of you who don't know what a junk boat party is, it's pretty much like it's like a white person's yacht party, but like a step down from it. So it's like kind of ghetto,
grimy.
Boat.
Yeah,
grimy, a little bit ghetto.
It was fucking live, man. That was my first time in Hong Kong, and I got there like 2 days before, and I seen Mike. Back then you had the baldy, but you had like the long head,
I had the
like
samurai cut.
Yeah.
The samurai cut, like just the middle,
like the bangs. Yeah. And you were like, yo, are those pro kids? And I was like, nah, these are just chucks. And you're like, word. And we started talking. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm a b-boy and shit. And I was like, man, I used to b-boy. Like you can see their old picture there, of me breaking and shit, like wrist 90s. And I was b-boy Omega Legs back in 1996. I stopped breaking in like 2002, 2003 though. So it's been a lifetime ago. But
so like I think for a lot of us, when we start actually doing something, and when we first actually saw it and had that spark ignite, there's always going to be a gap.
Yeah.
Because I graduated high school probably around 2000, and I remember before I graduated, like when I was still so I went through the English system. So it would be when I was year 9 or year 10. And then I remember at the end of the year, some of the seniors were throwing like doing a show. And that's when I saw dudes doing flares, windmills.
Word.
And swipes and like the basic 90s power move kit.
Yeah.
So, swipes, windmills, and
head
flares.
spins and flares.
Head spins and stuff like that. But I didn't know that was like breaking.
A culture,
That was like hip hop culture.
Okay, yeah.
I thought, yo, that shit's cool. And then later on, during high school, a friend of mine, he taught me the one step.
Okay.
Which is what like
coffee
grinder or helicopter.
Yeah.
Because if you go one way, then that's kind of like just. But if you go both legs, yeah, that's kind of coffee grinder.
Right.
I learned that in the late 90s.
Okay.
But I still had no idea that was breaking. I thought that was just, and by that, I had no idea what hip hop was. Even when I went over to Australia to continue my studies, and in 2004, my second year of college, that's when we found a local dance school, and that's when I realized, oh, this is the thing that's called breaking.
Okay.
And when I first took a class, it wasn't because I was interested in it. It's because so before really getting into the whole hip hop culture, I was like kind of I love the anime and manga.
Okay.
And I was like the president of our local university club.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, so I was in that club for a long time. And so my friends, when the studio opened up, they all went. They did hip hop dance, they popping, locking, all that. And like so I asked them, what else is there to do? And they're like, oh, there's this thing called breaking. It's like, oh, any of you do breaking? And it's like, nah. It's like, why not? It's like, it's too hard. And like, fuck you. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do that class. Prove to you guys, this shit ain't hard.
Possible.
Next morning, I woke up on my loft bed, like, fuck, I can't move.
Yeah.
So yeah,
my experience with breaking was a little bit different. Like, of course, I was on the West Coast, and the older kids. Like hip hop music, like exposure to the music was becoming more popular. Obviously, my sister, my brother-in-laws, and most people around me were black folks. So I'd been hearing rap music, like Snoop. You couldn't get away from like Snoop Dogg, but like
especially on the West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, like I got into Wu-Tang, I got into Snoop, and I must have been like 12 years old when I really started taking an interest in music. And what happened was like, people started talking about like what is like real hip hop, fake hip hop, right? And I was like, what is the fucking difference? Like I was confused about it in the same way I was confused about like East Coast, West Coast. Like what does this mean? What does that even talk about? And people started punctuating like hip hop is a culture of people that are doing hip hop, right? It's not just listening to it. The listeners are a thing, but there was a culture that emerges, and there's these 4 basic pillars of it, elements of it. And so I had older cats, like a grade or 2 older than me, that were like, yo, is like, yo, check this out. And it's like, first thing is like, graffiti. They're trying to do graffiti. I was like, I can fucking draw. I can do that. And then, just kicking it with all the hip hop homies. Somebody's rapping, somebody's breaking. I'm like, yo, I can fucking break. Like I'm agile and active, and I just started breaking. So I really got into the culture by just being around people who were also getting into the culture, handed down to them, or their cousin from Los Angeles was breaking. And my older cousins actually were one of the doper crews in Southern California, HDK hired Dimension Crew, but this is back in the late '90s. I'm pretty sure they're still around, but I don't know anybody in the crew anymore. But yeah, I just got into it that way. And in the late '90s, there was that splitting of like what is real hip hop and what is the commercial bullshit that's happening. It's the jiggy era. It's where rap music is starting to become popularized through mass American culture instead of marginalized to like an hour on the radio on Saturday or some shit. So yeah, I'm very much, we're the same age, but coming from the West Coast, I was very much in tune with this like last generation of keep it real 4-element hip hop kids. That was where I was at.
I completely know what you mean, but like I think in general I don't like to I'll just listen when the old heads, when the pioneers, when they start talking about that. I of course have my own opinions about that,
sure,
but that's like within the comfort of privacy. Because here's the thing, and this is my thought, I'm just like,
it's a slippery slope
it's
to
a
have
slippery,
these
it's
type
a slippery
of what
slope
is and what isn't conversations.
And also it's very difficult for me as an Asian already. I'm an Asian doing this culture.
Right.
And that's one thing. Second, I never grew up in the States. I never lived in the States.
Sure.
So these two things already, and I never came up during the 60s and 70s.
Sure.
So I can't like say, for example, compared to Poe One,
right,
Ken Swift, Crazy Legs,
Bboy Ivan,
like,
or even
the guys, the original, all the original B-boys that came out from New York. I can't, like, what I experience now, it's like
it's
I could say I have a hard life, but compared to them, please, I'm like,
sure. I mean, like, that's the thing.
mean?
That's the thing about hip hop culture too. It's like you start drawing lines of division, and it just gets slippery. Like, what is and what isn't. For me, like, one of the basis of my, like, all the people that I pretty much review and people that I know are people who come from kind of the same culture, and there's like a through line that I can follow through with people. Hip hop. Like I have no idea about like 3-6 Mafia. I didn't grow up in the area. I don't know. I've heard their music, but all the hip hop shit that I know comes from like, oh, that's my homie's homie, or like, yeah, he rocks with, like, for example, my daughter is breaking now. She's taking breaking classes, which is wild to me, but of importance and dope, and it's good to find people that are really locked in with that. And B-Boy Mar is her teacher, and B-Boy Mar had one of his students in the Youth Olympics. You know what I mean? Like, so there's like a lineage, and that's how I know the culture. Like, if I know you and you know somebody, I don't discuss like Drake. Like, people are like, yo, I like hip hop. You want to talk about Drake? I'm like, I don't like Drake. I don't listen to Drake. He's not for me. I'm not going to say that he's like, the conversations of like, is he a top 5 greatest? I don't care. He's not. He's not in my wheelhouse. It doesn't matter to me.
It's like weird how some people think if you're into a certain culture, then you have to discuss certain kind of things.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, at the end, like, this is what I feel like when people ask me, what is hip hop? I think the hip hop is not a thing. It's more like a lifestyle, and I think it's also a spirit, state of mind.
Yeah.
Like, being hip hop is pretty much like just being a good person.
Sure.
It just so happens you're mixed in with the 4 pillars.
Right,
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I feel you on that. Like, when people, people used to say, oh, I am hip hop. It's like, everything I do is pretty hip hop. Like, I'm a hip hop human being. It just exudes out of me because that's where I come from, like, that's what shaped me, and it's also part of my ethics and everything. But when people ask me what is hip hop, I say that it's a participatory culture that is primarily defined by these 4 different aspects of expression that has a historical context, racial connotations, and a long material history of just like particular things in culture and that have driven culture. Like, I don't really like to get into like, is it real hip hop? I actually love to say real hip hop when I see something that is like not real hip hop, because it's funny to me. Like, who cares?
The funny thing is, this was like this was back years ago. I think it was because I saw his tag. So I think it was Scheme Richards.
Oh yeah,
who wrote.
Shout out.
Oh, shout out to Scheme Richards. I met up with him in Beijing for Dragon Style.
Yeah, that's
17th
what he was out here a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I think he first came through to Japan, then he went to China. Yo, that dude is 6 stories, man, for days.
I mean, he's a legend in hip hop culture and DJ culture and in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the guys that just fucking he's been there. A true legend. I was with him and Neil Armstrong from 5th Platoon, and he was supposed to come on the podcast, but we got busy.
But yeah, as I was saying, he was he was talking in reference to during that time, like a few years back, when people kept using the term real hip hop. And I think what I really agreed with what he said later on. He did, I think, an Instagram post saying real hip hop, like back in the day, real hip hop was, everything was free.
Mm-hmm.
You threw free block parties.
Yeah.
And
you expressed yourself not to make $1 million off of it.
You danced for more of the rep, and then you could get you learn for free.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything you do back in the day, that was real hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays there really isn't nothing real, because you have to pay for everything.
I was gonna not get into like the ideological aspects of my communist critique against this, but right. But like, that's it. That's precisely it.
I'm just saying, if you want to always talk about back in the day, then none of us would be making money off this shit.
Right.
I'd be hosting events for free. People would be teaching workshops for free. We'll be fucking broke.
Mm-hmm.
But as the culture itself evolves and improves, and people start seeing that there's a mainstream value, that's where we could start making money.
Sure.
If we kept everything, keeping it real, if we kept everything real, none of us would be making money. There would be no like battle of the year, because like then how would they sustain themselves?
That's right.
Like from
it is a inescapable aspect about any culture. In the culture industry, it's like back when I was in high school during this keep it real age, you weren't allowed, like if you were writing graffiti, you had to steal your cans. That was part of the ethics. Like you weren't allowed to buy cans. Now the best cans for painting you purchase from graffiti can like paint manufacturers. Back then you weren't allowed to fucking do permission walls. Like you weren't supposed to just do a permission wall unless it was for a homie. Like I mean, like
you don't ask.
Graffiti was supposed to be illegal in its essence, and like even breaking was like I remember when Bambaataa and Common and a bunch of other rappers got together and were like on Sprite commercials, right?
That was just recently, right?
No, this is like fucking 96 or some shit, right? When Sprite really started.
Yes, Sprite, but then they did a throwback recently.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I think I started seeing posts, because Sprite is celebrating the 50th year of hip hop.
Oh, okay, no doubt.
So I think because they did it in '96, they wanted to do like a reboot.
Hip hop is really like black culture is really the hip hop culture in the United States was really like the thing that pushed Sprite into its popularity with into making money and being like one of the top drinks. But back then we had all these ethics that were trying to offset the neoliberalization of the culture, which is a thing that was emerging due to the new economic approach globally.
But to my understanding, it was also a culture of rebellion.
Yeah,
it was kind of like one of those like fuck the man.
Right. It was a radical counter. It's a counterculture of popular culture. It was the response to what we were told that we were supposed to do or how we were supposed to act. It was an act. I mean, there's a lot of different definitions for hip hop, like depending on the way you want to approach it. But yeah, it was, and that's why graffiti was like fuck the galleries, fuck street art. It must be, it's not graffiti if it's not illegal. And I rock with some of those ethics, but at the same time, we're in 2023 and the world just doesn't function in an idealized way. There's material things that change throughout history and our lives that force us into new ways of perpetuating the culture. And while I still have a lot of these ethics, and like I was just saying, I'm a radical, and like the free aspect of it is something that I'm only just acquiescing to now. Like when I made rap music, I never made an album to be like, oh, I'm gonna blow up.
Yeah.
I was always just like, oh yeah, the homies get together, let's do some art.
But that's where a lot of people who get into anything, like whether it's related to hip hop or anything. A lot of kids nowadays, the way I feel, especially with social media popping up, all the different platforms, what they're thinking is, and I come across this quite often when I'm not.
You're talking about like the Gen Z kids, like the real youths. Okay.
Yeah. So anyone I think that starting to hit 20s in the last few years. So I think right now what their problem is that everything they touch, they think they have the hand of Midas.
Oh, sure.
They like whatever they want to get involved with. Like, say for example, I want to be a beat maker, but I'm going to like if this shit better blow up in the first 6 months I touch. You know what I mean? They don't have the patience to test it out, to find out what kind of beat maker they want to be. Do you want to be just a boom bop head, or do you want to like make some jazzy beats? Like, just fuck around, like discover.
Well, a lot of it is, emulating other people and success and their interests too.
They only see the goal, but they don't really see the whole journey, which is why it's so rare that you find people. I'm not saying there aren't any left, but it's rare to find people who are like, let's get the homies together, let's film this, but we're not trying to make $1 million off this podcast, off the show. It's just so that I have something to do.
Yeah.
And since the homies are in town, fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, like,
it's not just Gen Z with that shit either, but especially for guys like us who kind of seen the more transition.
I see it more with the younger generation.
Right.
The Gen Z.
They have no frame of reference of the world before where there was an aspect. Like everything is so hyper fast for kids, and every kid feels like a brand ambassador. Like their Instagram posts are like propaganda brochures for them, and that's not just the kids, that's also the adults too, that have been really turned like that, subsumed by social media culture. The local and the kind of connection with people is it's closer, but it's also more distant now. I
wouldn't say it's closer. It's more. I'd say it's more intrusive.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily closer.
I like that because
it's more intrusive. Yeah. Let's say, for example, if you had your account not on private, like say for your celebrity, yeah, of course you could choose what to post, but I could pretty much go on your like official Instagram page or whatever and see whatever the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
And that for me is like, and that's why my girl always like, she when we were first dating, she wouldn't let me post anything of us on Instagram.
I feel that. My wife doesn't like that shit either.
Because, and here's the thing, like she's like, your work and private account, you don't separate them. But I think for me, it's like, okay, cool. If that's the case, then I won't post anything of us. I'll just post whenever I go out myself, because I think that's part of my persona.
Yeah.
And I don't really have an alter ego. For me,
same for me.
For me,
people get me all the time.
Like when you see me last night, what we're doing, like fucking shit up in the club.
Yeah.
That's how I act normally. It's just that when I'm with my significant other, then I kind of like tone it down a bit. But for the most part, what you see in a club is what you get at a jam or anything like that. So I don't really see the need for having multiple accounts. And honestly, man, social media is so fucking tiring.
I feel as though we've been like truly, like, to put it in the terms of like colonization, we've been, our minds and ourselves and our identities have been colonized by these little pieces of technology to the point where it's like it's almost inseparable from who you are.
We
Strange.
are no longer colonizing. I mean, landmass, that's so limited. Yeah. But yo, your mind.
Oh yeah.
That
the
shit.
Enclosure of the commons. They got you. They're getting us in fucking cyberspace now. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's so messed up how some people get like so butthurt over online comments. It's
yeah. I mean, I don't engage with, like, I'm barely online. I you know, there's comments on our videos that pop up and I just move them to the side because I don't like to be kind of poked by my shit all the time. You know what I mean? It's like,
and it's like,
sorry, I'll get to you guys' comments soon, I promise. But
and on like from a different tip, it's more like, okay, if someone leaves you, I don't mind if it's constructive, but if someone leaves you like a juvenile comment, what you gonna do? Track them down?
Oh yeah. That's my no.
Track 'em down?
see, that's me. Like I'm just not used to people saying whatever they think and not having. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing: some people,
you got to let it go.
People will say stupid shit just to
say stupid shit.
Well,
like
that's
just
one,
to
but
do it.
to get a reaction from you.
Yeah, that's yeah.
To get a
course.
reaction from
of
you,
course.
and I mean, like, so recently, before I came over, like 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, because on my other gig, I host parties in Shanghai. So our DJ deck, the booth is about this big. So the DJ's over here, they're spinning. I'm next to the DJ, also checking out what song's coming up next. And on my left, a really good homie of mine, his name's Andy. Shout out to Andy out there in Shanghai. And he's like the lighting guy. So one day he just comes up to me and like, yo, like, because I think I took a week off because I was doing other gigs in other cities. And he told me, yo, did you check out the Dianping, which is like the top, similar to Taberogu.
Okay.
So we have that. We have a version in China. It's like, did you check out? Did you see the ratings they left for our joint? So our joint is called Revolution.
Okay.
So I'm like, why?
You mean the venue?
The venue.
The party.
No, the venue. The
okay.
venue.
Okay.
The bar is called Revolution. Okay. So anyways, it's like, yo, people are like talking smack about you. They're talking shit about you. They say you're a horrible MC and DJ sucks. And like, and he showed me it, and I looked at it. I'm like, the person who was complaining said something like, oh, he didn't know any of the songs. Why isn't he rapping the song? So to give you guys a bit of context and background, so in China, a lot of the so-called MCs, what they are, they're karaoke people. They know the songs. They know like the popular songs, like from the beginning to the end. They know how to sing the entire fucking song. And so that's considered what a good MC is.
Wow.
That's considered a good MC.
Wow. That is wild, though.
In fact, when my two of my really good homies, one's a great DJ, the other's a dope MC, went to a local club somewhere in Guangzhou or Shenzhen, I forgot. And so during my homie set, the two of them were partnering. And then my friend who's the MC, kind of like, you know, once in a while you drop it, you do some shout outs, and if you know if he knows the song, then they'll sit, like, you know, sing the chorus or the breaks or whatever.
Sure.
As you do.
Yeah, sometimes you got to put that shit down for the crowd.
But as you do, like, but then later on, one of the promoters come, like, cause like apparently the boss is there.
Okay.
And was saying, yo, you guys need to be speaking more. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm already speaking enough.
Real hip hop.
And then later on, apparently, what? And then like another 15 minutes passed, and the MC was asked to just step down, go to the VIP booth, and just drink.
No shit, because he wasn't karaokeing
because he wasn't karaoke enough.
No shit.
Because he wasn't karaoke enough. And the other thing that...
Are these Western songs? Is this like American music too, or Chinese?
Some are like, you know, your regular pop charts.
Okay.
Some are like popular Chinese songs and stuff like that.
Well, stay tuned, because later he's going to put me on to some the dope Chinese shit too.
Like recently, stick around. There'll be like, but in terms of the clubs, it's wild. It's wild.
That's
out
interesting.
There. Like,
I had no idea.
The music choices, the way what they perceive an MC to be, or what they have to do, it's wild. Like that's why for me, like a lot of clubs be like asking me to like do certain venues, and I go there, and if I see more than 2-3 VIP booths, I'm like, nah, so this venue ain't for me.
Word. It's interesting to me because, first off, I've not really spent any time in China, but I know that China has a kind of very large adoration and for hip hop, and also a big participatory group of people who are doing various elements of hip hop out there too. And there's kind of one of the questions that I was thinking about last night is that there's kind of like this American blackness that imprints itself on all cultural exports of cool coming from America. The swag, the dressing style, the speech, the kind of mannerisms. You know what I'm talking about. Just a vague idea of it. And I was wondering if, for you as a person who's been to other countries, not just in China your whole life, you're rocking with multicultural group of people from internationally. How is it in China when it comes to like their sense of like cool and identity? Do they parrot blackness in a way that I see some other countries do it? Like, do they parrot kind of Western shit in the same way?
I wouldn't say so much Western shit as more than just straight up. A lot of them do bite just straight up black culture.
Sure. I mean, like out here in Japan, you'll see guys who are dressed like 1990s East Coast rappers, like big FUBU jerseys, like Timberland
like
boots, the cholos too.
Okay, so yeah, we have all that. Yeah. Whatever you can imagine, we have all that. So
hype beast and
we
cultural...
we have the hype beast crowd, which they are the kind of like what we call 富二代. So they're the kind of never have to work. Okay. They're probably local Shanghainese or whatever. Like their family's just rich.
Okay.
And they just their clothing catalog,
their like luxury brands, Gucci, Louis.
Their closet is pretty much the Hypebeast magazine.
Okay.
Whatever, like whatever's the hottest shit next. Whether it's like the big ass sneakers, I don't know, the old man shoes or whatever. Like.
Oh yeah. The new shit, New Balances,
whatever's new, whatever's hype, they'll have it. They'll be rocking it, but they don't know shit about the culture.
Sure.
And some actually, they're actually aficionados.
Okay.
So they actually work in the fashion industry. So that's kind of like, but you could tell.
Okay.
Because the guys who rock a certain way, and the guys who just chasing the hype. But yeah, so I'm just saying there's and then you have the guys dressed like, who dress like cholos.
Okay.
They're maybe like 60% of them either own or work in a barbershop.
Okay. Interesting.
Fit I don't know whether, because I don't know, like they're trying to fit some kind of stereotype, but they all have like that kind of sunglasses, like the LA kind of like the cholo sunglasses.
Okay, Lokes.
Like they like to shave their heads, the pants, the high socks, like the whole shebang.
Okay.
And then you have the 90s, like the Wu-Tang style, baggy shit. The only thing missing are Timberlands because like I don't think Tim's had a big they don't have a big market in China.
But they're probably still rocking like Air Force Ones and shit.
Yeah, and then you of course have like the European style crowd with the fitted pants.
Okay, like the tight pants,
and then like a collared shirt and stuff like that. You have that kind of crowd. But for me, the weirdest ones, I've seen some really weird ones. I don't know where the trend comes from, but it's like maybe they want to go real old school, like in the 60s and 70s, like a wife beater, short shorts, and Converses. Like that's almost like the pre-Wild style.
Yeah.
Like with the original B-boys.
Yeah. I mean, you see pictures of like Ken Swift dressed like that shit. You know what I mean?
And like, and there's no shortages of do-rags in China.
Oh, that's a shame. That's one of the cool exports of blackness. Like that is a functional thing. Like my hair is not 9 ether. You know what I mean? My hair is wavy. My sister's hair is 9 ether, but I just didn't get that genetic part.
I think
you only wear a do-rag for the function of it. Like Eminem with a do-rag, real hip hop. It's not supposed to be there.
But for me, because I was actually talking to some black friends about it, in terms of wearing the do-rag, and they said if you're wearing it because for utility,
right?
Like say for example,
your fucking hair, yeah.
I sometimes do some head moves on the ground. Unless I sweat, it catches.
Okay.
And it's painful. So sometimes I will wear a do-rag, but I'll tie it up so it doesn't look like a do-rag.
Sure.
It looks more like a skull cap or something.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that's you're spitting on your head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, not spitting on it, but like sliding.
Sure, yeah.
Sliding. So for cats who do that, I think that's fine because it's a utility.
No doubt.
It's like wearing a toque, but not everyone's head fits wearing a toque or like a beanie or whatever. Yeah. But then you see some dudes like come out the full on.
That's what. Yeah.
And they don't tie it up nice. They do it the Hollywood style.
Okay.
They'll leave everything just hanging out the back.
Yeah.
And then
don't. You know, it's utility. Like when I get my hair braided, I wear a do-rag to keep my braids down. I get that, but yeah, that's just it's interesting to me because you know we're really a global world now where people are influenced by all types of things. Back in the day, I had no idea how to be like, I had no idea how to be like hip like a Japanese kid maybe, or hip like somebody from Florida, because we had our own West Coast shit. We didn't have the entire world at our fingertips.
But I thought, but this is why I thought, and this is why a lot of people think it was just doper back in the days, because if you dress a certain way, oh shit, you're from so and so, or if you rock certain colors, like I'm not talking about the gang shit, but I'm just saying.
I used to get spotted. Like you'd be at a mall and be like, yo, you're a B-boy, right?
Yeah, but it was just so dope that everyone had their own sense of style.
Right.
Everyone had their own sense of style.
Right.
It wasn't like, you know, when Cloud came, B-boy Cloud came on the scene, all of a sudden, because YouTube, that was when like footage was just being so readily available. Then within 6 months at every single jam, everyone dressed like him.
Word.
Collared shirt, like long sleeve collared shirt, like tight ass jeans, and you know, everyone started to look like that.
More, yeah.
Or you know, when Taisuke started to get really hot, then everyone was like wearing Dickies, Puma suedes with the big ass t-shirt. I'm like, yo guys, come on. Like I was guilty of that too, cause like. When you watch certain footage and you see certain people dress a certain way, it's not so much you want to be like them, but it's just that particular fashion item. Like say for example, for me, what got me was soccer track pants, football track pants. Okay. The warm-up pants, because they were tapered. It would tapered so your footwork would look dope in it. Yeah. So that's why like I went through that phase as well, but unfortunately for me, I have a huge ass. It makes my body proportion like looks really weird when I watch when footage is okay, but when you look at pictures, it just looks weird. It's like massive turkey drumstick, just a big fucking. It's like like tiny ass legs and big fucking ass, and like boom, like holy shit. Yeah. So like I mean nowadays I'm more like I don't really chase after brands and stuff. Like it's more like, okay, I'm at the age and time in my life where I'm earning comfortably, but I also want to give back. And so I have a lot of homies that right now in China, they have their own clothing companies. Yeah. So, you know, right now the brand I'm wearing.
This is dope.
Oh, well, this one's Battle of the Year. This was like ages ago. Okay. So pair of shorts I'm wearing right now is by a homie called Motion. So you could find him on Instagram, Motion Raw. And his brand is called Rock and Write. So, because he loves to, he's a B-boy and he loves to graph. Okay. So that's why he called Rock and Write. So like brands
support them. Yeah.
brands like these, it's more like sometimes
Yeah.
he'll say, yo, let me give you a shirt. I'm like,
Word.
all right, cool, but in return you have to let me buy something.
Okay. Yeah. No
Because
doubt. You got to support the independent cats.
like
Yeah.
for instance, I really don't understand when famous people get more free shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I really appreciate you gifting me this. It's kind of like, you know, on my bucket list. Like, I'm starting to get free shit, you know, all the swag. But like, I'm like, yo, but I'm able to buy your shit right now. I should support it, and it's not it's not extravagant.
Right.
It's not like they're asking me for like, you know, $500-600 for a T-shirt. It's not like a Kanye West branded white T-shirt.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For $180. Yeah. Right.
It's reasonable, and I think those of us who have benefited from the culture should really give back in a way where it's like right now, half my wardrobe, like half the stuff I buy now, is not like mainstream branded stuff. It's all my homies' brands.
Word. You know, I back in the day, it's like, of course, we bought like the hip hop branded clothes. Like, you know, I had 555 Soul, and you know, you rocked the Dada sneakers and shit. You know what I mean?
I love that shit.
I miss that orange 555 Soul hoodie that I had. If I could get it back, I would. Like
mine was the hat, the T5S.
Yeah,
T5S hat.
It was just a dope brand back then. But also there was like certain aspects like that you could pinpoint and be like, that's a B-boy. You know what I mean? I know that's a B-boy. That's an East Coast cat. But we also freaked it different. Like the bottom of my hats always had my own graffiti on it. I always flipped it the way I want. Like I'm not a hype beast really. Like my wife is a sneakerhead and she's pulled me into that nonsense. As you can see, I've got 15 pairs of Jordans and shit.
In your walkway,
you know,
I'm like,
yeah. But like even the Supreme shirt, right? My daughter goes to school, to her international school, with the head of Supreme Japan, and so sometimes you get gifted a thing or two. But I don't. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
but here comes when we're talking about hip hop culture. Yeah. Because when you talk to the older heads who seem more, who I agree more with, it is ghetto culture. Yeah. And where it spans from in terms of fashion, like this is what Po schooled me on. It's like you had to use what resources you have to make what you have original. Like, so whether it was like, you know, tie dyeing or getting bleached to like kind of bleach your jeans in a certain kind of way to be different to the other kids, you had to be innovative. And that's why I think, you know, that's where
we're right in the back of our
that's where the difference lies.
Sure.
Like some people like to chase.
The hype beast shit is really weird because somehow we've decided that all of these like luxury brands, not even the streetwear brands like a Supreme or I don't know, you name it, Essentials or Fear of God, right? But a lot of these luxury brands that don't really give a shit about the people or the culture, and in fact, a lot of times they're actually racist. We love to have like a Gucci belt or fucking, you know, a fucking Louis sweater or some shit.
And at the end of the day, like as soon as they do something, like give a bit of representation to the culture, we're all suddenly like, you know, real hip hopping them. Like, say, oh my God, like, yo, they literally only did this for the clout.
Right. Like I think it, you know, it was Louis Vuitton. Like Dapper Dan used to freak it and make his own shit.
That was Prada.
Well, and then they give him like a fucking deal. It's like, you know, 20 years later, 30, 40 years later and shit.
And plus they weren't going to give him that deal.
Yeah.
It was someone calling out, I think, Prada for that puffy jacket. It's like, yo, that's like, Dapper's Dan shit.
He freaked your shit to make that shit back 40 years ago, and now y'all just trying to rip him off. And so they're like, oh, we got to save face on this.
So let's give him a gallery. Yeah. They give him the Atelier
or something.
Absurd,
man.
And like, I read the interview. Oh no, on YouTube there is an interview about just about his whole story, because it was about when he dropped his new book.
Okay.
At the time, so I watched that interview. It was dope, but then at the same time I'm like, yo guys, we need to have a bit more integrity. When some of these big brands, I mean, it's dope that we have artists that are being represented representing the culture and stuff like that.
That's why
that are on these big mainstream campaigns and stuff.
Yeah.
But don't kind of be mindful, not woke. Be mindful about that. It's at the end of the day, it's still a corporation. The reason why they are getting
get more close on the mic. Yeah.
Getting you on board on any of this is because it makes money. It's not that because they love the culture.
Absolutely. That's why it's important to me. For years, I never had a streaming service because I was like, why would I give them $9 a month to just allow me to listen to music and barely pay the artist? I'd rather take that $9, buy the one artist's album on Bandcamp that I want to support, like an independent underground artist, and then steal the rest because I'm basically doing that shit in the first place. But I eventually got onto the streaming services, but still every single month, and part of the money that I get from the Patreon, an album that we review, I'm buying that shit. You know what I mean? And we have to kind of think more I don't even want to use the term ethically, but consider your position within the things that you like and enjoy.
It's kind of like responsibility.
Yeah.
It's not so much ethics or morals, because then that would put us on the high horse, which we don't really want to get on.
Yeah, and plus there's no ethical consumption or late stage capitalism. But anyways, look, man, I reached out, Caltrops Press, they followed us. He's a writer from New Jersey, and he's doing incredible work. And so he reached out and is like, word. And I was like, man, you're super dope. I would love to give you a shout out on our show. And I've been giving him shout outs on multiple episodes now, often nothing but just the love of and appreciation of somebody else in the hip hop culture. Yeah. Just the other day, man, he asked me for my address. I was like, bro, it's too expensive to send some shit to Japan. But I just got a letter in the mail from him with one of the zines. And man, the dude is incredible. It's like we can, through our relationships, we can bring a lot of people up, and we don't have to do much other than rock with people in your culture, like the clothing brand. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's, I don't know, man. For me, it's real easy to make these type of choices, but it's strange how so many people just don't really have any. They don't think about it enough to make it a concern.
I think it comes down to, at the end of the day, like we talked about, it's too much right now. It's just too much of a. People have too much tunnel vision.
Yeah.
They only see that piece of pie at the end of the corridor. Mm. But what they don't really see is if you slow down, you realize at the end of the corridor is a fucking kitchen canteen. Mm. And that there's probably 50 slices of pie. Mm. You can't eat it all. So instead of stopping everyone from trying to get ahead of you, and slowing the progression of the whole fucking train in order for everyone to get a piece of pie, just work with each other. I think ever since moving to China in 2017,
from Hong Kong,
I've approached life and work with a more kind of Zen-like approach. And so in Hong Kong, I was always kind of pissed off, angry at the world. This ain't hip hop. This ain't hip hop. That I thought I knew it all. Moving from Sydney to Hong Kong in the first place. Those 10 years, that was a mess. So, but then later on when I moved there to Shanghai, so a lot of the older hip hop heads, especially Bboy Puzzles and Morris, those two guys. They helped.
Hell yeah.
They helped me a lot in terms of kind of mentored me to have a better kind of state of mind. It's fun. It's funny to watch you hate on things, but is it really helpful to you? Are you really that much of a bitter person inside? You're not. So they were telling me yo, when people party with you, they always get surprised because you seem so much like a dickhead normally. And I kind of thought, oh yeah. Why do I have to always act like that? So when I moved to Shanghai, I kind of told myself, okay, it's time to not reinvent the brand, but more reimagine it tweak it in certain ways. So now whenever I'm in China, I'm more especially with a lot of the kind of like the Olympics and all the kind of qualifying events coming up, if I get asked, cool. If I don't, it just means that it's not my time, or this thing is not meant for me. Of course, I can use my connections. I could use my relationships with a lot of other cats who are involved in this event, all these events. I could probably get my foot in the door, but at the same time, it's like, would I succeed in it?
Sure.
Because obviously it's more of an official kind of gig, and you knowing me, I'm more of a free flowing type of MC. I don't like to have a script in front of me having to say that is the most painful shit. So I think for not like nowadays, it's like I'll still kind of like, once in a while, if I see someone put up a poster, I'll be like, with wifey, like, fuck, like, she goes, what's wrong? Like, that motherfucker got this gig. But then like, I'll like it's more for a joke, but then after a while I'm like, okay,
you're not harboring like any real resentment. You're just kind of like, I feel you. That's also us getting mature too. I'd like to think we get better with age, and I've kind of let go of a lot of those things. I try to let go of a lot of those things in my past. I was a big like mainstream hip hop hater for a good portion of my life, like, and not in any real sense where I'll like post online, but people be like, my favorite artist is Kanye, and I'd be like, fucking whack. Or they, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, Nelly, like, let's talk about Nelly and, somebody else. And I'm just like, fucking why talk about Nelly?
You always had like some kind of negative or a comment. Yeah. Like you're always able to shoot shade at something, at anything that anyone said.
Right. Yeah, I've gotten a little better at that. I still like to talk shit about Drake and other people, but it's never in any serious sense. I haven't listened to a Drake song and I fucking don't even know. But like I'd like to think that we're getting a little bit more mature. And this is the 50th year of hip hop, and
depending on who you ask.
Sure, right? I mean, like, you ask B-boys from the Genesis.
I had to say.
Yeah. I mean, you ask B-boys from the Genesis, what does the B in B-boy stand for? And you get, 4 different answers.
Oh, yeah, you get hell
Bronx
answers.
Boy, Break Boy.
You either get Bronx Boy, Break Boy, Bad Boys, or like, it's just...
Yeah.
It's just... There's just so... And I think that's what makes hip hop culture interesting, is that you can never really get, because it stemmed from ghetto culture.
Right. I mean, it's poor poverty culture.
Yeah, and like, and within that culture came from like, I'm the best at everything.
Yeah.
Every block you go to, everyone will have a different answer.
Right.
Like, who's the OG? Yeah. And then like, yo, like if you go to one block, they'll never give like the credit
to elsewhere.
The neighbor. It's like, yo, this was where it's where we were partying at and stuff like that. Right. So I think that in a sense is kind of like what makes hip hop interesting, but also kind of holding us back, because there's there's no like unity, so to speak.
There's a real competitive and combat sport element that's baked into
it's
being
very
hip-hop.
Aggressive, very combative, but that's also the other thing. It's like,
it's fucked up. Like, the best b-boy in my high school, because we were b-boys, we couldn't train with him because we're always competitive against him. And it's like, bro, there's like fucking 15 of us at the school. Why can't we all just fucking break together? Yeah. Instead, we've got to fucking battle each other, and which is cool or whatever. But at the same time, I was like, he should have been my friend. You know what I mean? He should have been the homie. It was weird. But that's a long time ago. I do want to move this conversation forward to ask you specifically about breaking in the Olympics. Okay. I've talked to a lot of people about this in the past, especially as it was going to enter the Youth Olympics, which was, what, 2018?
Yeah, it already... Yeah, already... No.
Wasn't it 2019? It was...
9... Yeah, I think 2019. It was the same year as... Because...
The Youth Olympics are a year after the regular Olympics, right?
Really?
I don't know. Isn't that how it works?
No, I think it should have been the last Youth Olympics was maybe 2022.
Just last year?
Because the next Youth Olympics is in 2026, right?
Okay.
So the last one was in 2018 then. If it was 2022, yeah.
Okay. So now that it's entering, I talked to Brooklyn Terry, who is due to his lineage and shit, he's also participating as one of I think they're trying to bring other styles of dance into the Olympics as well.
Yeah,
and shit.
That's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
That
but
is never
they were
gonna
consulting. They were consulting with him, and shout out to Brooklyn Terry, my big bro. And it's he's talking to Crazy Legs, and he was like, well, we don't necessarily like the idea of breaking being put into the Olympics, but if we don't step in and try to,
if we don't do it,
if we don't do it, then the people they're going to put in charge of it, the judging criteria, are the ones that we don't want. Yeah. So reluctantly, Crazy Legs is one of the ambassadors. And
I don't
shit.
think he's involved
anymore. Happens to the best of us, I guess. But what are your thoughts on not just the Olympics, but breaking as a score based art form? Because isn't that a weird, difficult aspect of it? Because unlike basketball where there's points being scored, or even gymnastics where each move has a certain level of difficulty placed on it.
Same with ice skating.
Right. Exactly. That's probably better than gymnastics. You get what I'm trying to say, though? Because
I get what you're saying. But here's the thing.
So subjective.
No matter so in terms of the Olympics, no matter how much they tell you, and I'm not being salty because I'm not throwing shade, or saying any of this because I'm not involved in it. Sure. I was actually hosting the first WDSF Breaking for Gold event in 2019 in Nanjing. So obviously the system has improved and they've made changes, but this is what I see in terms of Olympics. Breaking is an art form. It's a dance. You can't really put, and no matter how transparent you say the system is, because apparently with the trivium system, or whatever they're calling it nowadays, so I think if memory serves me correctly, so at the time, the trivium system, it pretty much the way you score people is, you don't assign them a score. Okay. You assign them a percentage of how much better they did compared to the other person.
Oh, interesting.
So I think that's one major improvement compared to previous scoring systems. Okay. However, having said that, the system which I saw, the version which I saw, was so complex that unless you have adequate training, like almost if you used it almost like a PC, it's so difficult to navigate because there's so many subcategories. And of course, they say you can judge based on what you are most you feel most comfortable with. I get that. But at the end of the day, no matter how transparent a system is, it's still a person behind it. They're still going to be biased. Yeah. And I don't know, like in China, there's so many cases of nepotism, like so and so, these b-boys are affiliated with me.
Right. My cousin was, what I mean, with them, and yeah. And see, so that's so.
You hear stories how they like. I can't really attest to it, but you hear stories, you hear whispers how sometimes they score certain people, so then the brackets can be made. So then certain country b-boys get to make it to the finals.
Sure. I mean, there's a politics behind it that we'd like to pretend is not there.
At the last Asian Games in Hangzhou, I don't watch any of these battles, but a lot of the veterans were like, how did they come to that decision? Like a lot of people who and here's the really funny thing. If they were in anywhere but like a competitive dance sport environment, those guys would have got smoked. But in that kind of more regulated, very regulated environment, they tend to
excel.
And this is like, and this is the crazy part. Like, that's where I feel China excels at, because the way they break, they know. They've studied I think they studied the rules, because like
That's wild.
they've studied. They've studied. They know how the operating system works, and they know how the system works, and they play the game.
Okay.
So they'll train their guys. They train their B boys and B girls to dance a certain way to make sure they check off each of the boxes. That's what I believe.
Well, I think not just with the Olympics, which is a whole other can of worms, but competitive breakdancing as like a sport, almost like Red Bull BC1, has also altered the way that b-boys present their shit.
I've always
got a top rock for 10 seconds, and I've got to do this for 25 seconds, and then end with this.
Yeah, so I think this view I've always agreed with. A much older b-boy, like very well respected b-boy. I'm not gonna say, because I don't want him to. I don't want to fuck up his bag.
Sure.
But
tell me later.
He said that Red Bull BC1 killed crew culture.
Word.
He said Red Bull BC1 killed the crew culture, and I agree with him. But I totally get it, and why BC1 was so successful. They don't want to promote a crew of people because it's easier to control one dude. Because you could easily pull that one dude's check and replace him with the next hot rising star, rather than having to sign like a crew of 10 dudes.
Right.
Then you're dealing with individual personalities. It's hard to keep them in line. But I get that. But because of how BC1, and I think the first few years of BC1 was dope. Everyone had their own distinctive style.
It felt like we were like coming out of that dark age of like, b-boy culture's kind of disappearing.
But it was dope because all the b-boys who first came up in the first like 3-4 years, everyone had a distinct style.
Yeah.
When The End came on that year, his first time being on BC1, those power combos, you just looked at it like, I need to change my underwear because I just wet my pants. And then, but later on, like, I'm not taking anything away, but it's just that, with guys like Lil Zoo, they're all dope. Victor, they're all dope. All these dudes are crazy. But if you're really good at everything, then there's no kind of like, nothing really makes you special. You know what I mean? I mean, in terms of being the only guy with style, probably Menno is like the outlier.
Yeah.
But like they kind of like, I feel like he's kind of more like a marketing tool. When he won his third BC1, they even had the whole documentary Road to the Third Belt like kind of thing. I'm like, yo, come on, man. It just seemed like so obvious. But of course, like, that's how I see it.
Sure.
A bit of a
conspiratorial.
Conspiracy.
A little.
Because here's the thing. I think, what was it? At the end, I
haven't watched like the last few.
So the year
finals.
when he won his third BC1 belt, I think what happened was it finished already. And then the judges, I think, what was it? Amjad, the MC was asking for the decision, and then like the music kept playing, and then Menno came out for an extra round. So I think the battle maybe 3 or 5 rounds it already ended, but he came out for an extra round, and everyone's going like, "Oh my God, that's so raw!" But I'm like, yeah, but it's a wrong place to be raw. It's not. You know what I mean? It's like if you want to be raw, go fucking do it outside.
Yeah.
Go battle the guy on a concrete for like, half an hour. I'll call that raw.
Yeah.
But when you're at like a scheduled event.
Right.
You know what
the
I mean?
Premier B-boy event.
When you're at a premier. Because this is, I think, so when I was in Australia, when I was breaking at this studio called Dance School, shout out to Dance School. Like, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be dancing anymore. So, one of the B-boys, I think he's now like a DJ. So Seb One.
Okay.
I
Shout out to Seb One.
Yeah, shout out to Seb One. I casually asked him one day, "Oh, are you going to the battle later this afternoon?" And he looked at me funny. He was like, "Battle? Don't you mean competition?" But at that time, I was way too. I was in my 20s. I had no idea what he was talking about. It's like, yeah. And then like,
Right.
I was like, "Nah, I'm not going." And he walks away, because he was like maybe the second or third, like kind of still early.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like separated maybe 1 or 2 generations earlier than me. So I was like, oh, what do you mean? But later on, as I got,
all makes sense.
It all made sense. That's when I started.
Yeah.
And like in China at least, that's when I started getting more experience and getting more having my stripes. Then I'll kind of like call people out saying, yo, y'all want to do this raw shit, do it outside. Don't be calling out people, calling out judges and whatever, making a big ass ruckus in the middle of my event. This is not a jam. This is not a park jam. You can do that at the after party. I don't care. But this is an event. This is a competition. I have my schedule to keep.
Yeah.
Don't fuck my shit up because you got an ego.
Word. I get it.
Like you can't expect to be like, say for example, I go to a music awards, and imagine someone who got beef goes on stage, grabs the mic, and cusses the guy out. You know what I mean? You can't do that shit. Yeah. You can't do that shit.
Yeah. I feel that. You know, I
So sorry for going off on a tangent, but
I
kind of to wrap it up, like to see breaking as a dance sport. I said it previously, like years before. It's like your favorite restaurant coming up with a new menu. You don't have to. You could try it. If it don't work out for you, don't try it again.
Word.
Like a lot of people have a lot of things to say about the whole breaking the Olympics, whether it's for money or whatever. But for me, it's just like, it's good thing that we've gotten so far up. I mean, if we turn a blind eye to see where the money's going, like don't follow the money, it'll just ruin everything for you. But if we take this opportunity to see, okay, our culture right now is represented at its highest form. Not only just in terms of a corporate BC1 form, but at the fucking Olympics.
Yeah.
Okay, we could draw a lot of people who have interest, whether they're riding the bandwagon. It doesn't matter. Soon it will trickle down. If they're really, really into the culture, then we, as the torch holders, the fire wielders, we have the opportunity. We have the opportunity and the responsibility to educate them.
Word.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no doubt.
For us,
you got to maintain at least that aspect of control.
It's just way too easy to be negative and hating on some shit. That's taking the easy way out. I mean, if I ever have the opportunity, and it's a tiring job, no doubt, but then if I have the opportunity to stand in the Olympic stadium representing my country or my crew, myself, why not?
Yeah, the Olympics is trash, but I mean, the Olympians are fucking amazing. You know what I mean? And that's dope.
The whole association and the stories I've heard just makes you. It's pretty much just like, it's like all the countries in the world pitting their best fighters to fight each other. It's like a worldwide UFC without the bloodshed.
Yeah, I was thinking about early UFC and early BC1 when you were talking about it. Early UFC, individual styles going against each other, and now it's just like, you know, a master of none. Like, you know,
and then I've recently, like, you know, when you watch you know, Joe Rogan's podcast, when his MMA episodes, they always say like there's certain forms of fighting is just trash in the MMA
Yeah.
because of the rules and.
I mean, wrestling
Takes top.
right priority, and because of the rule set,
Yeah.
like there's no kicks to a grounded fighter.
Yeah.
There's there's a lot of things that you can't do. There's no headbutt, so it plays into certain skill sets,
styles, like
having a
styles,
different
yeah.
priority. But I love breaking. I just haven't really been in touch with the culture like that. My wife is, you know my wife, Chi,
Yeah,
B-Girl Chi. She's still B-Girl Chi. She doesn't break anymore because she's busy momming. But, we're trying to get our daughter into it, and she's under the right lineage, a person that's been with it for a long time. But it's just feels a little bit awkward to me because it's like a breakdancing school that doesn't teach anything about breakdancing other than the moves. You
Yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
but
I guess I've got to do that.
But I think for me it's so common because in China that's the same shit.
Yeah, here too.
They teach, and the worst thing is they will teach other people's moves, and because the kids are just so their bodies are just so versatile.
Yeah.
They'll learn it. I could probably go on a full episode to talk about the issues that we have in China, which I think stems just from education and knowledge.
I think we probably have some of the same issues here when you not even just with breaking, but hip hop dance in general, or teaching those type of things. Like there's a kind of separation between the cultures that created it and it as a kind of commodity that can be taught and sold. I still come from. I whenever I watch like BC1 or like these competitions, I feel like there's a lot of like competitive zeal and people being good at what they do, but I don't feel like there's a lot of like dancing. My favorite B-boys are like, he's not very successful in terms of competitions, but I love Nasty Ray. I like Nasty Ray because sometimes he's just like,
yo, Nasty Ray, and
like he'll just dance a little bit.
He's the same kind of guy. So I met Nasty Ray the first time in Australia when he was judging for Hybrid Form's anniversary. They had like this competition called Super Round Box, and he was one of the judges. Yeah. And I always love Nasty Ray because of just he speaks his mind. No matter how butthurt you get, when you grow up, you understand. Yeah. Like one of the things he said, and that stuck with me for a long time, especially when I'm in China. He said this. It's like, guys, no disrespect to any of you, but don't enter competitions unless you have at least 4 years of training under your belt. I didn't quite understand it, but bro, let me tell you, when you start hosting in China, some of the kids you see there, some of the kids are dope. They've only danced for 2 years. Some of the craziest moves.
Sure.
But some of them, that's why some of them, I give them a 30 seconds. If I see, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, next. I cut that shit short because it's just wasting everybody's time. And some of the parents have the audacity to ask the judges, why was he scored so low? Bitch, your son danced like shit. It's like he's practicing in front of the mirror. Don't come with me at garbage. Yeah.
I just, I respect his kind of like, he refuses to kind of bend to the rule sets.
Oh yeah, like he won't. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy to conform.
Yeah, he's like, yo, like, if I'm not feeling the song, if I'm not feeling the music, how do you expect me to dance well? And it's like, I feel like he's a B-boy who doesn't have canned routines either. I feel like he gets out there, he feels the music, and he does what the music kind of tells his body to do.
See, also,
I like
that's how you differentiate by the top tier dancers. Yeah. Like, to be honest, I've been dancing for so long. I've gained a lot of moves. Certainly by now I've lost a lot of shit.
Oh yeah.
But
I tried to do windmills a few years back, bro. I was like, oh my god, this is bad.
Like for me, there's only a few moves unless I'm like really freestyling and suddenly come up with. But it never, like, my sets revolve around maybe those 5-6 moves. But depending on the music, the speed at which I transition in between the moves might be different. I think that's where a lot of that's where you see, because like I think right now the way I see breaking is especially with Red Bull, because of how the music is made, everyone dances the same because because it's the same speed, and everyone practices to Red Bull mixtapes. And it's like, yo, I get it, but like,
so when you're beat killing, you're not really beat killing because you've already practiced this fucking beat kill 100 times and
because
shit.
Okay, so
I hate that.
I was chilling with Fleg the other day because he was in China for the Asia Games.
Oh no shit.
And we were talking, and it's like,
shout out to DJ Fleg.
Yeah, DJ Fleg, yo guys,
amazing.
Check out his parties. I think King of What.
Wow.
He's no longer throwing 4 Hours of Funk because like it's just the time. But let's hope that 4 Hour of Funk comes back.
I've never met him.
Oh, he's a great dude.
I've never met him or Cross One.
Cross One was just in China too. So
oh, yeah?
Shout out to Cross in his freestyle session.
I've encountered him at Bboy, freestyle session like '97, but I didn't talk to him. I was fucking like 14 or something.
He's a dope dude. Like very misunderstood.
He's been holding it down for fucking 3 decades.
Even I used to like never met him probably, but just like kind of like not really like him.
I haven't I'm not tuned in, so I don't hear like
but I actually like in China I actually sat down, didn't really have a direct conversation, but just hearing how he spoke, like I'm like, okay, I kind of understood.
Word.
Like, because a lot of times, like this is the most fucked up thing I believe in hip hop culture. You hear things about certain people, and you let your emotions get in the way without actually confirming it or having a conversation, and that kind of misunderstanding breeds to beef. And it's like at the end of the day, when you ask him, why are you beefing with this cat? It's like, I don't know. You
struggle to come up with the fucking reasons and shit.
Because you know, and when you actually do think about it, it's because it's some juvenile shit. It's like so and so said he heard him say this. Why didn't you go ask him? You know, there's like that ego shit. But anyways, like
back to immediacy and
So back to that, like, so Flake explains to me like with the Red Bull music, a lot of it because they have to clear.
Right.
So with a lot of break beats, especially the classic ones, slower ones, it's quite expensive to clear it.
You know, Scheme was talking to me about that too. How they can't clear a lot of shit, so like a lot of the joints you'd want to play, he can't play, and there's like they've got like a, you know,
they have to make their own beats,
a library of shits, or so
either that or you go into the Red Bull library, which at the end of the day, like, you know, unless they like, excuse me, like with Red Bull, when you go and hear the music, it's just like it's always the same. There's not. It's like every 8 count, there's an effect. Maybe every 4 count, there's another effect. But like it just repeats.
Right.
And I don't think this is the fault of anybody. It's just
it's a unintended consequence of the way that the shit is structured.
The competition is so hype. It requires you to bring out the best of the B-boy, the best of the best, the cream of the crop. So you can't really have someone playing like a really slow boom bap beat and expect electrifying high flying moves. You know what I mean? And I think that's where sometimes I have I think this is where sometimes the mainstream part, I feel there's certain hypocrisy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do feel like there's kind of an abandon. To me, this is just like perhaps my own ideological placing of hip hop culture, but I believe that the immediacy is so tremendous in all aspects of hip hop culture. When it comes to the freestyle, off the head, in front, live audience, whatever you want to do. DJing, it requires you to look at the crowd, figure it out, move them, change it up, beat match on time. When it comes to breaking, I feel like you should be listening to the music and breaking to the music. Like, I like the idea of you having a skill set, not you having canned routines to show off. Of course, you can have a canned routine, like just you can have a canned bar, but when you're freestyling, it should be fucking free. And they're my favorite b-boys, I feel, are the ones who kind of dance like that. And that's why I was a fan of Ray, because I like Ray, I like Domkey, I like I just met Earl. Do you know Earl? He was one of the original members of Lions of Zion from Hawaii, Black Cat. I gotta remember his last name. He didn't tell me his b-boy name, but I just met him. That's another tangent. I'll ask you later. But I like the cats who are, dancing. Like, I don't like the Pocket, right? Pocket is amazing. He's like amazing, a power move algorithm. It's a power move algorithm, and there's no dance to it. Like, to me, it's like, that's a dope gymnast routine. Gymnast. Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. But to me, it's like, you know what kills that? Styles. Styles kills that.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing I love about Pocket was that he's probably the last remnant of what all b-boys should be like. I fucking like power moves. That's all I'm gonna train.
I commit my mind and body to power.
You say I need top rocks and footwork. Fuck that shit. I'll do the ugliest top rocks and like 6-step. Yeah. But as soon as I do a wind up and start doing power move, you're gonna kiss my ass. And I'm gonna mop your face with. I'm gonna mop the floor with your face. I don't care. Yeah. That is that's what I like about him. Mm-hmm. And the rest of his crew, before they before Morning of Owl kind of disbanded, that's what made crews so interesting back in the days, and that's why that's all where it came off with the early BC1 was because crew battles, whether it was R16, Battle of the Year, Freestyle Session, B-Boy Unit in Korea, and then you back then. To win a crew comp, that was the highest form. Yeah. That was the highest form. Yeah.
We're the dopest right now. Yeah, can't nobody touch us right now. Yeah.
And everyone in the crew had their own responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Pocket goes out there. You got to send somebody with styles to eat them up.
And then in your crew you had the footwork guy, or you had you have the guy who knows how to fight just in case shit broke down. Yeah. And you had the trash talker, and then
you got the girl that's going to battle the other single girl in the group. You know what I mean?
You had the B girl just in case they send the B girl out, and then you had the top rock guy who knew how to dance. And
back then, you used to have the popping guy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Apparently, every breaking crew had one popper.
Yeah,
this is what I heard. I'm
look at International Battle of the Year 2001, Hungry
Salah.
versus it's the dude's gonna go out there and he's gonna fucking pop. It's it's fucking, you need to have that.
But now it's
our crew had that. Our crew had that.
But now the problem is say when I host crew battles, not that many crews individually have their own distinct style.
True that.
I think one crew that stands out a lot, shout out to Fusion MC from Korea. This is one funny thing. I was talking to B-Boy Leon, my homeboy. He's in Fusion MC, and he was like, so a little bit of background. Fusion MC, sick B-Boys, and all of them have one thing in common. These dudes are the most flexible B-Boys ever. They do that kind of the rubber leg shit.
Yeah.
What we call back in the circus tricks.
Yeah.
So these cats have the most flexible joints ever. And so, I was talking to Leon, one of their members, while I was they were in China, entering this event called Invincible Jam. Shout out to Invincible Jam, by the way. And so he was like, yo, I don't understand why our crew just keeps on, all our members have really good flexibility and stuff like that. And then I told him, it's because that is now your signature.
Yeah.
And people with that kind of body structure tend to be attracted to you guys because they're like, oh shit, we can do stuff like that.
You inspire me to change up my shit.
But the strange thing is they don't break the same. Nice. They all have very distinct. They all have distinct sets. None of their sets you can't I don't know how to say it, but it's just they just took flexibility. If you took flexibility out of it,
they'd still be unique.
They'd still be unique. but it's just that they took the flexibility fairy dust and just like sprinkled it on
Yeah,
everybody.
it was like everybody. We're gonna get hyper with the fucking bone breaking and shit. Yeah,
It's crazy, and,
Yeah.
and they even had one of their new crew member called Snowman. Kid's Japanese, but because growing up breaking, he loved Fusion MC so much. I think he's living over there. He went he's studying.
No doubt.
And like I think that's the great thing.
Yeah. I love the unique b-boys. Like you know, if you showed me like no salt because I think they're tremendous, but if you look like Taisuke and Issei, very similar styles to me, like to the point where I've like, you can point them out, but it just like it all just kind of blends together to me with the where they approach breaking.
I think for me, for in generally speaking, they already came out at a time when being an all-rounder was still a thing. That's why we don't appreciate it as much. Well, with Taisuke, it's more like the attitude, and when he came out, the swagger.
Yeah,
it's like, I know I'm
True
short.
Yeah.
But fuck you. Watch what I do. And which is why I think he loses a lot of battles.
Oh,
because of that cockiness. There's a few times in BC1 when he came out and it's like, that round in a different battle would have been dope, but it's BC1. You need to step it the fuck up. He's lost a few battles because he was too cocky for his own good.
Sure. Yeah. He didn't. Yeah. Definitely.
Like I've seen it's like you have like, you know, when he loses, he gets mad, disappointed. It's like, bro, you have no reason to be disappointed. I'm sorry. I have a lot of respect for you, but dude, couple of the rounds and all the,
you should have stretched a little bit, pushed like, a little harder. Yeah.
The timer, like you looked at the time, it's like shit, already done it. It's like he was expecting to be Mike Tyson knocking that other dude out in first round. But like back to the point, like with Taisuke's style, it was because back then no one did like power moves to the music like he did. He had such good body control. All that stuff, like the first, like that when All Area Crew first came out, Japan's finest, just wrecking the whole scene, like going everywhere, battling everyone, and just that was crazy.
Yeah, he's got to be the greatest Japanese b-boy perhaps of all time. I mean,
no way, man. Katsu won. Well,
dude, I forgot about Katsu. He's a legend.
But that I think for the generation we know of. Yeah. Because there's also the other ones like the Waseda
Waseda Breakers,
Spartanic Breakers, like those the pioneers.
Yeah.
Like
I try to follow Spartanic Breakers, man. They've got their page. It's like very rarely updated on Facebook, and it's all in Japanese. But they were one of the first crews that I ever heard about from Japan. I remember at one of the Battle of the Years, they came out. They had like the ninja costumes on, and they did really dope routines and shit. Spartanic Rockers.
But that's what I mean. Like in terms of, I think bringing, like having the kind of like entrepreneurial mind and organizing everything, I think it has to land with Katsu.
Okay. I've been Chi, my wife is a B girl for those of you that don't know. Chi knows Katsu and they're friendly, but I've never met him and talked to him. Chi knows a lot of those fools. Like Chi dated Tugu for a long time in high school. And so every time I watch fucking, Foundation battles, I gotta watch my ex's boyfriend being absolutely fucking dope. I remember he got sponsored by Sony Xperia cameras, the cell phones, and I'm looking at this fool on every single fucking train. I'm looking at this fool on video just fucking killing it, absolutely with breaking. Lucky I'm not an insecure guy or anything like that, but I'm like, damn, I gotta fucking deal with this shit all the time. This little motherfucker. No, I like him. I have no reason to have any beef with him. But that's the thing. Funny,
but that's the thing. The scene is so small. Yeah. The scene is so small. You're bound to bump into somebody. Yeah, man. Like I'm always surprised when my wife knows somebody's wife. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, what? Like the homie Sano, legendary graph writer from Cleveland, fucking amazing. I met him and my wife was like, yo, I know. Me and his wife go way back, like 20 years ago. I'm like, oh, shit. And so Sano came through to the crib, and it was just like, man, Sano is so amazing. He's the one that did the design for Nas's Illmatic album was held up because Sano didn't get the Streetlight Publishing
icon to them early enough, so they had to hold Nas's first Illmatic record. That's Sano. Like, he's amazing, a graffiti legend. But the scene is so small, man. It's fucking you know, you know people out here that I know and shit, like Chase and shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yo, is he back in Japan or still?
Yeah, he's back. His birthday was like 2 days ago or some shit like that.
Word.
Yeah, we should hit him up.
Yeah,
we should hit him
definitely.
up. I was kicking it with him a few weeks back, and I just saw him at where the fuck was I? I don't know. I saw him at Brooklyn Terry's going away party.
Okay.
Yeah, because Terry went back to New York. But
so he moved base completely.
his wife is still here holding down
Okay.
NDS Studios at, you know, their place, and I think his son Zion, who's fucking big as us now and shit. I think he's going to go to New York next year. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah.
We'll hit him.
He'll be back and forth.
We'll see him when we see him.
Yeah, we'll be back.
But
and
like,
forth.
it's just crazy how how hip hop culture connects us all.
Yeah.
But it's also crazy how some people want to keep these walls up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't. With hip hop, it's like, yo, I might know randomly graph writers who I've never met.
Yeah.
But when we finally do meet, it's because, oh, I've heard of you.
Yeah.
How the fuck you heard of me?
Yeah.
It's because you're homies with my crewmate who's a B-boy and a graph writer, but he spent time in a certain country, and he always speak about you. It's like it's some crazy shit like that.
Yeah, it always is, man.
I mean, like us.
Yeah.
You were randomly on a fucking junk boat party, and I was going because of my sister.
Yeah.
And somehow, when we finally connected, we find out we know these
people, and yeah.
And
It's just hip hop. That's what I'm talking about. That participatory aspect of it. That's the culture I'm talking about. But yeah, man. The last thing I want to do, we're pushing almost 2 hours here. The last thing I wanted to do was have you play some of this Chinese artist. You sent me the link last night, but I don't think I've got. Do I have Instagram on this phone? Hold on. Yeah, I don't know the login, and it's mega late showing this.
What?
But yeah, can you pull it up on?
All right, cool.
I don't really care what it is. I just want you to put me on to like some Chinese artists that perhaps I'll like, because I've seen other ones like who are they called? The Mountain Brothers? Is that a thing? That are kind of
you mean like Higher Brothers?
Higher Brothers.
Yeah, for me, like they're a little bit too mainstream.
Well,
like,
yeah, I don't really rock with it.
But to be fair, they worked hard, and then they managed to. I think they even did a collaboration with Snoop.
Yeah, I mean they're dope. It's just not really my musical wheelhouse.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but like so, yeah, like some of their stuff, they do have bangers. So some of their stuff I'll listen in a club.
Sure.
But then at home, hell no.
Yeah, I mean last night actually, truth be told, I didn't even mention this shit. I'm super hungover because we were out last night. What time did we leave? Like 2:30, 3? It was late, wasn't it?
We left probably around 2-ish, 2:30.
Okay.
Because I said, yo, let's leave at like 1:30, and then like just drinks kept coming up.
It's no me hodai. It's like all you can drink. People just kept on filling up my cup. I didn't even ask. So I was having a rough day today. Like, yeah, I woke up, got my daughter ready for school, went back to sleep until like noon. Yeah, and then the homies Secret House, Jet and El Spade were like, "So we doing it today or what?" And I was like, "Y'all didn't confirm with me yesterday. I'm already recording." So sorry, we'll have some more reviews for you guys this weekend. Also, Noname sent me her new album early. Yeah.
All right, so this is a homie of mine. So shout out to California, Yu Tao. So 4K. Yeah, his group is like, so he has his own label called Know Us Underground. And him and another homie called Kiga, they form C2C, Coast to Coast. And they mainly kind of do like boom bop, that kind of style.
Okay.
So this track is called That's the Way I Like It. And it dropped like a month ago or a couple months ago. So it obviously with the song, it uses, they sampled kind of like that beat.
Okay.
So
yeah, hit play.
乐响起，准备好随时扎堆 ，bounce my body freestyle 随机发挥。Can you touch these? Can you touch
Oh, this is hella Westy.
明白，哥们儿，给你举个例子。踢踏、比把、萨萨到 Cambrella， Ninja、Yoga、Soja、功夫 Master， 被激发的想法吸纳入 Hip Hop， 下地华丽的步伐随时一触即发。Let the pop and lock, hit those troubling things, just follow the tempo, do the New Jack swing.
Hey man, that shit is actually hella Westy. That's a summer jam right there. And he's rapping in Mandarin.
He's rapping in Mandarin. So he grew up in Guangzhou, so he speaks Cantonese as well. But his main, because he's from Xi'an, so near where the terracotta warriors are.
个国家 Party all night， 音乐响起就没有时差。Meeting XA represent China， Take it to the Busan LA Osaka， 放克 hiphop 电子能跳的都爱，是套马的汉子也可以叫做 cowboy。人生没有彩排，就享受现在，就算是 J and Jolin 也没法倒带。所以向左向右，向前向后，搭配双脚双手的身体里装有 soul， 跟着节奏在敲打，我略带诙谐的动作，但却不是潇洒。
That beat is fucking fire. I feel hella West Coasty. I'm gonna have to drink a 40 ounce after this shit.
好的音乐不会迟到 ，bounce with me, just bounce with me, come on.
It's so wonderful, man. Like virtually every single country on this planet. I mean, yeah, country on this planet has like really interesting, dope expression using hip hop. You know what I mean? Like expressing yourself through this kind of formula, this approach to self-expression, and it leads to some really incredible things. Like I don't have any idea what he's saying. I caught a couple of the English phrases, but just the cadence, the vibe of the music, it's like it shit feels good. This is a really dope summer track, and it's on my my radar now.
Like this, they have like a variety of different tracks.
Yeah.
Like they have some.
You want to play another one? We
cool. Let's So I think this one.
You see how I begin these AI chicks now?
Yeah. It's crazy. All right, I think this one. Okay, this track I'm about to play was like 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Deal with this podcast is not sponsored by Google, and we do not support that.
We do not. We do not.
This is not a tacit endorsement of Google.
Yeah. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
I do want to get the phone up. Okay.
So they do collaborations with the up and coming artists as well.
Hey, this sounds like some Bay Area shit.
New West Side, hit a new West Side, New West Side, get a new West Side, New West Side， 我车慢慢开，纯黑或白。从发型一路跟进到瓦斯 ，West Side young block 不贪生不怕死，车没有臭屁的白点臭架子，留给你台阶下，可惜就是没有下次。Street credit 不是合作能得到，从眼神流露肯定态度。
So a lot of their music is kind of like West Coast.
Yeah, like they because like
they're called California. So yeah.
So this song, I don't think it's their original. They're featured. Like so, for California, that's the guy with the shaved head.
Okay.
That's the guy who's rapping before.
Okay.
He's featured in the song, but like this is another track that like a lot of the kids out there love.
Okay. So if you was emceeing a party, you have to rap along to this shit out there now? That's a shame.
Fuck no.
你需要当明星，你需要节目的观，目前下来要干啥你就别管，老子业绩就是狂上，我狂找我下单。New West Side, New West
My man got Lokes on and everything.
New West Side, get a New West Side, New West Side， 我车慢慢开，纯黑或白。New West Side, New
Okay.
I think we're gonna come up to a part where he drops his.
He got his verse coming.
Yeah.
看我的范儿就知道这是中国，作品像在街头出手，不限制风格，在这丛林里边溜达必须实力综合，弱肉强食别忘了积点功德。来自狂野的西部，先天拥有狂暴激素，喜欢待在低处，经常被人低估。But motherfucker I'm good， 这是 Wild Wild West， 豪放的性格在哪儿都不拘束。哈库那么他哥们儿就爱路边喝酒，你装逼的香槟可惜了，哥们儿拿来洗手，赚的钱一半留给家人，一半留给节奏，生意越做越大，但把爱洒满了街头。让那么一让，装的不太像 像流量数据库嘛，真不怎么样。不管电视或街上，都有人在接棒。Get ready, boy， 剧情要开始起伏跌宕。New West Side。
Yo, they got a lot of crime in China and shit, like murders and gang violence and shit.
Like, okay, gang violence is
there street gangs, like young people gangs?
Bro.
No?
It's like, I'll speak for Shanghai itself.
Okay.
Like, Shanghai is probably one of the, like, in any of the first tier cities, safest places ever.
Oh, word.
Like, you could try looking for trouble, you won't find it.
Because when I was in Hong Kong, bro, I felt like I could kill somebody on the street and get away with it.
Yo, you probably could. Like in
Yeah.
China, there's so many CCTVs, you would get caught
Word.
within hours.
Word.
Like, unless of course you somehow managed to plan the perfect crime, kill a dude or commit the crime, then within 30 minutes at the airport and out.
Huh.
Otherwise, that's a wrap.
They got your ass.
They got your ass. Because once they have your face, they could track you through the millions of CCTV, the security cameras. And we're not talking about the shitty ones that the US have that's are grainy. These are like 4K.
Yeah, word.
4K.
So you can't even put on like a fake mustache and just try to figure this shit out?
No, because like here's
Yeah.
the thing, like with they have facial recognition in China already. They could track you, then track your car. Once they see which car you've got on, then they'll like use everything. They
Right.
found your car,
Yeah.
and then they'll see which
Registered
train
to this
registered
person,
where.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yo, that shit is crazy. Like once you're on, like it boils down to whether they want to spend resources to catch your ass. If it's some very petty shit, usually they just let it go. But
Right.
then like if
That's for the first tier cities, though. Now,
Second-
that's what you're saying?
yeah,
Like,
but even second tier, like second tier cities like Hangzhou or like smaller cities, still very hard to. Unless
but there's a lot of like I actually shouldn't say there's a lot of. I've seen videos of people like straight jacking smartphones. Like,
Okay,
it's like
that's-
super common, I heard, over there.
maybe in more of the rural towns.
Okay.
More rural towns.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, like, if you jack someone's cell phone, you call the cops, they could trace that shit like in a minute.
Okay.
Like, cell phone jacking would probably be, I'd say 10
Okay.
years ago.
Okay.
Because
yeah, it was old that I saw that video.
Because it was like, you know, the poverty levels, the wealth levels were very different.
Yeah.
And, you know,
In the last 20 years, even, there's been
stealing someone's cell phone
upward
could help
mobility.
you feed home for a
Yeah.
month. Maybe. I don't know. But now it's like, yeah, back then people stole bikes.
there's not as much abject poverty in China anymore.
We don't
unless
see it.
they're in the more rural areas and
We
in
don't-
the areas that people haven't kind of migrated to the
Like,
higher tier cities.
There are still some in Shanghai, some people living in, I wouldn't say destitute conditions, but like less than what, not as comfortable.
Sure.
That's what I would say. Like,
Okay.
it's still like they have their own room, but then it's kind of like shared kitchen, shared toilet between 20 people, that kind of deal. Like, it's not destitute, but at the same time, it's like, nah, I can't live like that,
Sure,
even if the
sure.
rent's cheap.
Yeah. Man, that's pretty I got some more China questions. Over there, of course, you have the entire like Chinese internet system, right? Which is supposed to be separated from the larger global internet system.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like super easy to get like VPN and
Oh, yeah.
just go do whatever you want to do.
Okay,
they don't
so-
crack down on that type of shit too much.
The official party stance, the government stance on is using any form of VPN. And here's the really funny thing. So VPN in Chinese, they call it fanqiang. So they literally acknowledge their firewall as the Great Firewall of China. So VPN officially, if they decide to investigate something on your phone, if they find VPN, that's actually, I think it's illegal,
Okay.
but it's not entirely like
Enforced or
it's not enforced that strictly. It's more like they don't really care about the end user.
Okay.
but they care more about the service providers.
Oh, I see.
So that's why, like, for me, I prefer to use more expensive service providers because they're more stable. A lot of people are saying, oh, I got this like mad cheap VPN that's only like what, 20, maybe like 20, 30 bucks a month. I'm like, yeah, but how stable are they? Because like literally it would work today and then tomorrow they get caught and then they get shut down.
Sure.
And like, for that, so that's why like, I think when I first moved to China, I was like telling myself, you know what, I think it's a good chance for me to just disconnect from all the social media. So I didn't really have like a reliable working VPN. But as soon as I got like a steady one, I'm like, why didn't I do this earlier?
Word. Do you see a lot of homelessness in Shanghai? Is it like here where maybe it's like some other area?
You see it like once in a while. Like once in a while, you'll see dudes like sleeping. You see a sleeping bag like somewhere, but I think especially in Shanghai, so Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen, you don't really see too much of it. But that I could be very biased because where I live is in the city, so that could be enforced.
Sure.
That could be enforced.
Move
so
them out
like
of the way, get them elsewhere.
Kind of like almost like I recently watched the documentary how Japan has this one derelict town where all the homeless people go to or something like that. I don't know whether that was in Tokyo or somewhere, but in China they managed to handle that shit well.
Right.
Like you don't
get housing provided for you if you need it and shit, right?
Yeah, but it's almost like on the same track of like with some of the Western countries. In order to get those kind of government assisted housing, you have to have some form of ID and like it's not like, oh, you're homeless.
Hey, here's a house.
Here's an apartment.
This is the key. Like
let's fix you up.
Yeah,
chuck you in there. But there's like so much red tape. Like I don't know because
and so people with like mental health issues would have a harder time being pulled into the system and shit.
And it's like people with mental health issues kind of like have free reign on what they do because the cops don't know how to handle them. Because because you arrest them and find out they've got mental health issues. Where the hell do you take them to?
Yeah.
You can't take them to a mental hospital because the system itself doesn't really want to treat these people. So they're like they have or it's more like they don't have the facilities to treat these people as effectively. So that's what when we're having the conversation before when you were saying oh, the corona numbers for China wasn't as bad as elsewhere. I'm like, yeah, they're pretty much sanitized. I can tell you, they're sanitized.
What about is there like an LGBTQ community that's active and open in Shanghai?
I don't think so.
No.
Because like,
is it still like a social faux pas for a lot of Chinese people?
China's opened up in the last 20, 30 years quite a lot to a lot of things, but I don't think like I think the gay and lesbian community there is it's definitely for the older generation. They're gonna throw some shade, raise some eyebrows, but it's generally quite accepted. I have like a close group of friends, like quite a lot of them that are either gay or lesbian. So it's not quite a social faux pas, but it's like
bourgeoisie decadence. Just do what you do.
It's not as quite. It hasn't gotten so out of hand like in the States.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Interesting. Is there a lot of and I know Shanghai is one of the largest cities in the world. Is there a lot of like Western fucking food places and shit like that there?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
There's bistros,
barbecue.
Yo, that's like I think I've eaten authentically almost everywhere.
Word.
But I haven't had authentic like
American
barbecue.
Oh yeah, you got to go to the worst places in America.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what
Bro,
I mean?
I didn't know barbecue slapped the way it did until I went to Texas, and I was like, oh my god, like I had ribs before, but yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Like
it's like I think like, no matter how authentic the person is cooking the food, no matter how authentic the recipe is, the environment itself
Definitely.
gives that last 5% boost of whether that food is like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's why at 3:00 in the morning, a Greasy Spoon diner with some pancakes and eggs and sausage and bacon and hash browns, it hits right because that Greasy Spoon has got to be part of it.
When I went to Canada, in Toronto, we stopped by. I think I remember it was a chain diner. It was called like the St. Louis Diner. I didn't care. I had lunch there with some friends. I ordered burgers and fries just because I wanted to try at least be either in Canada, Toronto, Canada or the States to try a diner burger and the diner fries. Never regretted it.
Yeah.
It probably didn't agree with me the next day, but like when I sat there and ate that diner burger, that shit was bomb. That shit was the bomb.
Hell yeah. Man, I was so glad when you hit me up and said you were in town, because even if we weren't going to record this, I knew we were going to kick it and have a good time and shit. So I'm glad to see that you're coming back to Japan, because it had been like 4 years since we last kicked it.
Yes,
so
sir.
And it's weird, bro. We know each other like 11 years now. When you go back and think about that shit, we grew up together. But man, give us your social media and then we'll get the fuck out of here.
All right, so you guys can check me out on Instagram, MikeMagic83. That's right. And hopefully this time this podcast will be uploaded.
I don't know what happened to the last one. I have no idea what happened to the last one.
I always and here's the thing, sometimes I walk around with a chip on my shoulder, mainly because I feel like I have so much to share, but not a lot of outlets. Because people think, oh, you're not a champion caliber b-boy. What the fuck? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, people will think, who are you that I should be putting on a platform? And hey, I sometimes think that is appropriate, because you don't want some random nutbag on your show.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just like, your viewer, because you have a responsibility to your viewers as well.
Yeah. When you told me that, I was like, that's not right. And I was like, that's absolutely not right, because Lade and I have never not released an episode and we've had some episodes I thought that's kind of a stinker. Like that's not the greatest content. Yeah. And that's back when we used to be serious about it. Like, we got this part. Now I just get on here and start talking. But yeah, I don't know what happened to that. Like, even when I searched it, it came up on like some random podcast provider, and that was the only thing that came up, and it wasn't even the episode that we recorded. It was like another one that you did with Late.
It was the street episode.
I was like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, man, Secret House Against the World, Mega Late Show, Tokyo Hip Hop Art and Culture. You guys know me. More stuff coming soon. I'm actually gonna sit on this episode until probably next week.
Yeah,
and release it next week. But yeah, man, love you guys. Thank you.
Shout out to all the
patrons.
Shout out. Peace.
Caltrops Press.